Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Social Authority with your boy Pat Hilton and Zach Hoffman, the Marketing Monday edition. And it doesn't get any bigger than this. It doesn't get any bigger than this anywhere in the world, ladies and gentlemen. So we are broadcasting live on tons of different networks: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X. So if you're joining us, welcome. I got Zach Hoffman on the line. And Zach, how you doing, buddy? Happy Monday.
What's up, man? Happy Monday, dude. How are you doing today? All's good over here.
All is good. All is good. Just staying busy. We were talking before we started about what do we want to talk about, and Zach's always got a couple different topics. One of the topics for me is AI and virtual streaming. I've had a lot of people talking to me about these virtual streams that we're doing, and with how difficult people's schedules are, especially since you and I both, honestly, we work with a lot of CEOs and they're working on or in their business. And so they don't really think about, I need to be posting videos, I need to be posting content because that's going to attract more clients, it's going to attract more handshakes. Why is it so important for CEOs to come out of the darkness and really present themselves as category leaders here in 2025 and beyond? So not only they can encourage people to stop by their business headquarters or have them as a guest on podcasts or whatever, so that they can get in front of an audience.
For sure. It's also brand recall, as well as if they've done business with you in the past or currently doing business with you. It's important to stay top of mind with those prospects or, those past clients that might not remember you existed until they start to see your social media content pop up back in their feed. It's where people are. That's what they're looking at in the content wise. So you have to make the time for it, whether, you want to or not. I mean, we both have busy schedules, but we make this a priority to get on and jam, about what we see going on in the marketing world and just the world in general.
Well, right. And I think that having those conversations keeps you sharp. It keeps you on your toes. And this has gotten easier and easier and easier. And we started this through like the Thanksgiving season and then the whole holiday season. And so the whole month of November and December, we were working out the kinks. And now we've gotten to a point where we can do this with anybody in the world on a Monday. And making yourself available is part of the process when it comes to getting in front of the right people. And like you and I have talked about, that relationship, how much is that handshake worth? And I think people think that it's all about leads on forms and this and that. And by the way, just because you get 2,000 people to fill out a form or a contact form doesn't mean they're leads. You know this better than anybody because you do a lot of campaigns, a lot of paid campaigns where you're measuring spend to lead to conversion and this and that. Why is it important for people to get out of their head that I'm going to build this huge list on social media and make all this money and then I'm just going to drink pina coladas?
Well, it takes the work, and there's definitely beyond just generating those leads, and you have to nurture them, get them into the cycle, and get them to actually convert into paying customers, and then you have to retain those customers once they've started to engage with you. So there's a lot of steps beyond just building that initial list. That initial list is just that's just getting started.
And I love how you said that. It's just a list. Like, guys, when you're building your contact list and you're building an email list or a phone number list or a newsletter list, it's important to remember that you're just creating a list of people that are interested and that you want to create a relationship and a connection with. Because the less that you try to sell and the more that you try to educate those people on why it's important for them to even just do it on their own, the more results you're going to get in the long term, because the action takers are going to start to get a slight boost on their own by taking some action. And those people are going to be highly qualified to buy from you, especially if you're the one that gave them advice that got them results for free. People overlook this, I feel like, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, it's the information. Well, it's taking the information and then converting it into end clients. So it's definitely, once again, it's staying top of mind and then taking the actual people that might engage with you and then engaging them in the topic of what you actually provide and then getting them to that end result that you're looking for, or to their end result of what they're looking for, where you start to get them the results and actions that they're, engaging with you to get to.
And I also think that the community of social media, there's so many ways to pull people into a virtual room. And we're going to be doing this a lot. And I was telling you beforehand, we got a stage coming to the Content Hub. So we're going to be opening it up and doing the podcast studio stuff and the live event stuff and helping people speak on stage and filming them speak on stage, all these things that we know that people need to be doing and that most people, I think, want to do and are capable of doing, but they're wondering, well, where do I go? How do I get to speak at an event? Where is the place where I fit in? And I feel like there's got to be somebody who creates that. And so I'm that guy, I feel like. It came on my shoulders.
Yep, you're definitely that guy. I mean, look, you're gonna bring the vision together, and the rest will follow. And I'm sure you'll have a big base and definitely people that start to engage and come out there to utilize your stage and the presence that you're creating for them. So,
Right,
yeah,
right.
definitely
And that's
encourage that.
essentially digitally what our companies do is we put you on stage for the world and we put that spotlight on you and we showcase you and your offer. And I think a lot of people that finally get on camera are afraid to make an offer. And the people that are really, really afraid to get on camera, they're not secure with their offer. Why is it so important to, when you get on the internet, to have a place to send people where they can clearly see what you are offering the marketplace?
Well, definitely, one of the topics I did want to get into a little bit down here is, definitely websites. It comes down to like credibility and reflection of what you're actually the service that you're offering. As we've evolved with a number of companies, we always see that the websites definitely the platforms that people are used to looking to are becoming more efficient, more streamlined, a bit more white space and less noise in the environments of the websites. So, it's really critical that you have key messaging that essentially rings home when they get to the destination that you're looking to drive them to.
Right. Yeah. And I think that being someone who's like more of a personal brand guy that focused on just landing pages and offers, we're really starting to notice, like we've talked about on the show, that those are two different things. There's nothing wrong with a landing page or, an event sales page or a one page or whatever. That's all great. But a website is just a completely different thing than that. They're different things. Explain the difference between like a landing page or a checkout page or a funnel and a website.
So they are all websites in a way, but essentially
Right.
landing pages or funnels are particularly driven to have somebody take a particular action and don't really allow them to escape that desired action. So they're either going to complete your action and become a conversion, or they're going to basically abandon the funnel or abandon the presence. Whereas with a website, they might do a bit more research, get engaged with your brand, choose to opt in, look at you on different mediums. But usually in a landing page environment or a funnel environment, the idea is to keep them streamlined and focused on that one particular action that you want them to drive.
Right. Yeah. And I think that, like you're saying here, so a website really does give you the ability to showcase as a portfolio a body of work, whereas a landing page is trying to get that conversion specifically and only that conversion.
Correct. Yeah, we've talked about that in great detail, especially when it comes to yourself. Just like the ability to build out a website, to build up your credibility, and essentially be able to elevate your brand and elevate your positioning because of all the details that are there, the experience that you can highlight, and just really building a lot more oomph to your message and to your business as a whole. Every big brand out there has robust website presences. Even when you look at some of the social media companies, the Google ads of the world, they all have robust website environments to sell their end product, which is essentially what they're providing the consumers. I don't believe that there's a major entity or organization out there without an effective website.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think that's the next step because, again, and we've talked about this a lot, but with so many people leaving the 9 to 5 workforce and figuring out a way to just pay that mortgage, pay that car insurance, pay for that food, pay for X, Y, and Z on their own. They're getting to 5, 10K a month, and they're thinking in their head, like, this is way, way, way more than I'd make at a job. How do you get from that position, that 5 to 10K a month, where you're starting to see some freedom, some headlights of freedom there down at the end of the tunnel, to building a real efficient brand? Because they're two different. A personal brand, Pat, or any pro wrestling's a great example. You're a pro wrestler. Well, you want to work for one of the biggest brands or one of the biggest businesses like WWE, even though you're an independent contractor. And this is where I think people get confused between business owner and entrepreneur or solopreneur is you've got to get to a point where your business or your brand's got a full team and a scalable offer, and you can monitor and grow that, because you can only be effective to a certain degree as one person. And this is where the split starts to happen. But there's so much opportunity in the digital landscape. And I think that solopreneurs feel like when we talk about this stuff, we're bashing them, when in reality, we only know because we had to deal with it. We've all gone through that solopreneur phase.
Yeah, it's been a number of years for myself, but definitely, we do help people move beyond that solopreneur phase or even like a limited team size. Essentially, it comes down to reinvesting into yourself and betting on yourself. So, putting the resources behind building a brand, building credibility, building an effective logo, tagline, effective website messaging. Even ourselves at Exult's going in 20 plus years, we definitely work with third parties or within our own team to assist us in building up our brand or our brand rungs to assist us to get to the next level. Because, essentially, as an entrepreneur, you're typically a lot are looking to drive business to another level. It becomes a driving goal is to continue to grow.
Well, right. And so you always have to think of, who am I going to link up with that's going to push me to go faster? And usually it's somebody that's good at something you're not good at so that they can amplify what you are good at by taking over those tasks. And I think that's, again, when you're solo, it's hard to admit what you're no good at, and you don't have a whole ton of money to hire people. And so I think people get caught in that critical phase of what should be a growth lesson, and they can hinder themselves from going to the next level by thinking, well, if I just conserve and just do all the work, I'm going to grow. When in reality, some of that has to be handed off at some point.
Yeah, delegating is huge for any success. Even when you're on a team, delegating tasks and delegating responsibility within, specific team members, is going to allow you to get to the next level. Really, delegation becomes critical and key, and understanding that, yes, if you do the work, it might be like 100% of what you were, essentially thinking you would get. But the reality is when you delegate, you might have a little bit of drop off, but the fact is the work's getting done, and you're able to utilize your resources to, see through the forest and get things to the next level.
Totally. And it's just your ability to create more time is what's going to create more efficiency in your daily schedule, for sure. Which is why we do this now. If it got to like Thursday, we'd be like, oh man, I have so much to do. But Monday, you knock it out, you get it done, you get it on the map. So what else we got on the hot list there, Zach?
Yeah, so a few things on the hot list. So I had the experience to go check out Savannah Bananas, basically world renowned at this stage. Baseball team that's just catching the country by storm, selling out every venue that they essentially perform at. Search and AI, we continue to get questions about that, or how do you, SEO specifically for AI or program for AI, and then website design and how critical it's starting to become, especially as you see the tech bros essentially taking over a lot of aspects of the country, why it's so important to have a credible website, and make sure that, probably especially if you're depending on government contracts, I think an effective website is more critical in today's environment than ever before, because I think a lot of those vendors would basically kind of dust it off their shoulder that they didn't need an effective website, but they're probably rolling over trying to get that website built as fast as possible. So yeah, the website design environment, I think, is going to continue to heat up from, credibility and understanding perspective. But back to the Savannah Bananas, and this is a true success story. I mean, it's essentially a baseball franchise that's been around since the owner took over in 2016. They started to do what they call their world tour in 2021, where they go and they perform at various stadiums throughout the country. But they've done a lot of things to take baseball. And, there's a lot of, I think, stigma around like Major League Baseball, or just like the traditional aspects or the confined and the regiment of the traditional game, how long it takes, the pace of the game. Whereas the Savannah Bananas basically break every rule when it comes down to it. They put on a full-blown entertainment dance fest, literally a baseball game, which I would say had, a few rules, but not too many rules, and just a lot of activities and fun things to really entertain the fans and get the excitement to a whole new level. Down here in Miami, the major league team really has not been able to successfully sell out the stadium at all. But the Savannah Bananas sold it out twice this weekend. They sold it out, a couple times a few months ago, and they continue to sell out baseball stadiums throughout the country. Whereas the home teams, typically that's a big challenge for them to sell out, a major league game. So it's pretty awesome to see this troop team that's essentially like the Harlem Globetrotters were to basketball, where they do a lot of like tricks and entertainment, but doing it to the game of baseball and having wild success throughout the country. It's awesome to see.
Well, and you got to think about, like we were just kind of talking about, what is already working. And this can be in anything in life. If something's working and you double down, triple down, quadruple down on it, you're going to get better results. Then you have to figure out, okay, well, if I want to get 10 times the amount of results, I can only do it so many times. So how do I get somebody else to help me get to 20, 30, 40, 50 times the results? And I think that just the ability to remix something that works, like the Harlem Globetrotters did it with basketball, and now these guys, they're doing it with baseball. It just keeps people involved. They already know baseball. They already probably like baseball. Take all the things that work and put it together into a show. This is the entertainment business now. And with the internet, you can get right to people's fingertips for free.
Oh, for sure. I was talking to a fan next to me, and he said my son is literally obsessed with Savannah Bananas. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, he's watched every single game on YouTube. Go have you. This is a team that hasn't lost yet. They're 145-0, I believe. But essentially, I believe it's the act, even though it is non-scripted. But essentially, there are fans all around you that like had been watching them on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook leading up to the game, just wanting to see these things actually in person. So, there's always that debate of like, hey, is digital going to impact people actually showing up, or, is it going to impact the traditional world? The reality is that those that are capitalizing on the digital environments are capturing the audience and bringing them forward into a traditional environment, which is foot traffic and sales. And Savannah Bananas are a perfect example of literally selling out venues and getting people in the door. And it's all as a result of, having an effective presence and building up demand.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And again, with the internet, the more consistent you are, the more you're going to get messages. The less I try to go viral, the more people message me and ask me about my services. Whereas when we try too hard to get views or whatever, sometimes you drag in the wrong audience. And I think that I think it's good to just kind of steer clear of certain things, because it just doesn't bring any value. And if you want to change the internet or change the narrative of anything, well, then you have to create a new narrative. And so anything that I'm broadcasting, I'm trying to work with business people, investors, forward thinkers, innovators on how we can make the world a better place, make the internet a better place. And so that, when our kids are using these internet sites, which is essentially everything as a website, facebook.com, we're on it right now, that they're seeing something that they can utilize. Because a lot of people complain about the internet and it's just trash and blah, blah, blah. But then they don't put anything out there to make it any better.
Well, yeah, I believe we're moving beyond that, right? Like we went through a whole phase of like cancel culture and people just like negativity, complaining about different things going on. to, a world where, the reality is, and it's always been a reality to me, is people want to see positive action, positive
Yep.
things. They don't want the drama. They don't want to deal with people that just bring drama constantly because they don't attract like good energy and they don't attract momentum. The fact is you want that positive energy to bring positive momentum and get things, moving forward in the right direction. And back to Savannah Bananas, it's pure fun and entertainment. There was no way not to have a good time there because there's just such a constant pace of just, persistence and entertainment. Yeah, I've just seen it in a lot of environments that, I continue to get exposure to or that I'm exposed to. When people don't necessarily have that like idle time and there's, constant like push and pressure and fast-paced fun, that really lights things up, man. It's, some of those people, they try to like, stick themselves out like a sore thumb. But, I think a lot of culture right now, the momentum is towards positivity. People don't have time for the others. It's
Well, that's true.
push.
And people are so busy. And again, things have gotten more expensive over the last 5, 10 years or whatever. And it's just,
It always happens, man.
yeah, it always happens. You get to a certain point where you're just over it and you don't care. You're focused on people that are going to move the needle forward. And so I think that's why it's so important to be a part of groups, be a part of communities. And that's why I think that people, that are business owners or entrepreneurs like us, they seek out groups or masterminds or whatever they can do to be a part of, to be around people that are thinking the way they're thinking because, you want to be in the 1%. Well, those people are hard to find. They're not hanging out where 99% of other people are hanging out.
No, for sure. And it's definitely, you gotta, keep moving. The thing is too, going out and like networking, like I went to a gala this weekend, or, just like specific like nonprofit events. The reality is you don't need to necessarily impact everybody in the room, but there might be literally one person or five people in that room that can make a big difference to you. And just really, making that human connection or making that connection with them are some of the the critical reasons that you would attend or be at some of those specific places. So there's a lot of networking and there's a lot of things that go on beyond social media or the videos that the world is capturing. I think there's a lot of communication and a lot of meetings that are happening. So
Totally. And if you're one of those people on our feed and you share a lot of stuff or you travel to conferences or stuff like that, then you definitely know a lot of those handshakes or those backstage chats that you have with people that are the most important conversations. They don't get caught on camera. They're not selfie moments. You're trying to connect with somebody. You don't have your phone out. And so, it's really important to think about that. The way people network or whatever, I add you as a friend on Instagram, send you a message on Instagram. Now it's like we're linked. You can go right to
yeah.
my website. You can see what I do. You can go right to my Facebook. You can see how I operate as a parent. All of that stuff is right there at the tip of your fingers now. And in my opinion, all those things are related to buying decisions, which is why your social media is so important because that's what people are going to go look at. And then, like you said, then they go and they look at your website. Okay, well, this guy looks like a good person on the personal level. Now let's go look at the business level. Let's see what the business looks like.
For sure.
Because it's all connected. It's all right there on your profile. I can click right to your profile or right to your website from your profile. So I can get to know you first. Then I can click and potentially take action. It's
Definitely.
crazy.
Definitely. Yep. No, those things are all critical. Yeah, to move forward, beyond that topic of Savannah Bananas, and if you do have the chance to check it out in your hometown, I definitely
Savannah
recommend it.
bananas.
Yeah, man, it's
I'm Googling them now.
and the owner, Jesse Cole, is definitely he's an entrepreneurial hero and he's done, he's a trailblazer in a lot of ways. So worth checking out Savannah Bananas, Jesse Cole, his fan first focus. There's a lot of aspects of what he's doing that literally get the imagination going. And, I would say he's, doing things that John Ringling, P.T. Barnum did with the circus years ago, but doing it with, human entertainment when it comes to baseball. And he's probably got one of the most successful, I would say, like, I don't even know how you call it because it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily a Major League Baseball franchise, but it's an entertainment surrounded by baseball being played at the biggest venues. He even had Dunkin' Donuts as a sponsor that they plugged numerous times throughout the event. So, he's packing stadiums, making the dollars on that, selling a lot of merch, and then also has sponsors on top of, what they're doing. And, people are going there and having a great time. And that's,
So it
critical.
looks like the Savannah Bananas are a team in the Banana Ball Championship League. So they have their own league
Pretty much.
in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah. So,
This is
yeah.
awesome. Their
Oh,
website
yeah.
looks good too, by the way.
Yeah, their website's clean and it's just, it shows you organizations just staying current with the time. You just got to give it a little kick, a little bit of a refresh just to, enhance those, particular conversions. But their website is pretty sweet. And then, it drives you into social media where you're going to have the long-term, flow of engagement and stay top of mind with the brand.
And it looks like there's a whole bunch of games here. They're already sold out. I mean, they're playing at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. They
Sold
play
out
at
Marlins
like
Park,
big
man.
actual parks. Yeah, this is wild. I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, check them out. Definitely pretty cool. My boy and I got our
I'm going
selfie
to share the
pictures with
screen. I'm
Nicole,
going to
the
share the
owner.
screen for the
And
people so they can see it.
yeah,
There you go. Savannah
yeah.
Bananas right here.
If you don't know, now you know, but you definitely
Now
need
you
to check it
know.
out. And trailblazing organization there, definitely just pushing the curve and pushing levels to a whole new horizon there with entertainment and baseball and just making it fun.
Yeah, this is wild. They got all right. So they got different banana ball teams: the firefighters, the Texas tailgaters, the Savannah
Yeah,
Bananas, the party animals. Wow, I like the Texas tailgaters. I'm a fan of the Texas tailgaters, bro.
saw them play the party animal. So it's
That's pretty
definitely fun.
cool, man. They created their own
Yeah,
thing.
they
They
created their
took
own thing
something
and they
people
are
already know and they
wildly
remixed it.
successful. What's that?
They took something people already know that they already like and they remixed it and made it awesome.
They remixed it. They made it awesome. They took it to a whole nother level. I mean, the guy, like I said, he's the story of, building a fortune and fame rather quickly. I'm sure he knows, his time horizon. Might not be infinite, but who knows? But I'm sure they're gonna have a very effective run. It's at least gonna go on for a decade at this rate.
Right.
But yeah, keep building for sure. I mean, it started in 2016. They kicked off their world tours in 2021. So essentially, yeah, I think they have a long runway ahead of them, and they definitely have an engaged audience, man. And we'll see if Major League Baseball tries to get on the bandwagon with them because essentially it does build up interest in the sport. It's non-traditional, but it's fun. I mean, they even had a guy hit a ball on stilts. I mean, he almost hit a home run. Never seen anything like it. But the guy was on stilts where he was standing literally 12 feet in the air. It was pretty wild. So
Well, and they're
yeah,
already able to draw people to the same stadiums that they're having major league games at. So,
correct.
kind of makes you think, how can we market this together? And I was talking earlier, there's a wrestling organization, TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. And they're kind of a rival of WWE, but WWE and TNA signed an agreement to where fight wrestlers can go back and forth between the organizations. And so now you
Right.
got all these different people popping in. Some of them are former WWE people. So the cross brand and creative partnership style is such a smart collaboration for businesses and brands because why wouldn't you just use existing talent to help your offer go over? Business owners and entrepreneurs, especially in the conference scene, have been really good about that. Hey, we know this guy's a great speaker, or we know this guy's a great business owner. This guy scaled this, that, and the other thing, or exited this, or whatever they did. We want them to come and entertain our audience or speak to our audience because we know our people are going to get results and they're going to show up for it. So you always got to think about how does that translate into your category?
Yeah, no, it's definitely awesome. Definitely awesome.
I
Yeah, to
dig
keep
it.
going through, areas that, continue to, I would say, tingle the mind here going into what's now, we're pushing into Q2 of 2025.
Yep.
But we asked a lot about search and AI. Yeah, and a lot of things that we're seeing when it comes to search and AI is continuing to stick to the basics to make your website more relevant, build out more robust content, and also start to research what the AI is saying about some of these particular responses that you might be looking to optimize for. We're continuing to see AI, basically get more integrated into Google searches in particular as a whole, but they're referencing specific websites and specific information. And we've always seen evolutions of the Google search engine and the results that you're seeing, but it's always critical to continue to pay attention, maintain and update the information on the website, refresh it and continue to build it up as more of an authority rung. And you won't get left behind by AI if you continue to focus on those various aspects.
Also, what is the importance of a blog? Everybody's talking about blogs and stuff like that, and how you can use the blog double as a newsletter. You can post it as a Facebook post. You can have LinkedIn subscribers increased. Are blogs like a new newsletter? Because this is very website to me. Obviously, I use social media just like I would use a blog, but I feel like the word blog is just kind of a become dated, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work. Can you explain why that's important for a website with rankings and all of that kind of stuff to have an updated blog?
Yeah, so typically a blog, I would say, is essentially more correlated with a dynamic aspect of a website. So, what I mean by dynamic is a blog is probably going to be updated more frequently than the core content of the website, and then bring traffic into either related sources or into the website content itself. Typically, a blog is going to be talking about tips, trends, building up like specific topics and theories around like an end service or a product that an organization's looking to, resell. But essentially, a blog creates a dynamic information well, and its typical environment that the search engines would know is going to be more updated, than some of the core components of the website. Like I said, a blog typically is going to be used with like backlinks into the core website content that support specific information that they're covering, as well as expand and just build up dynamic information. So blogs are definitely important, but we'd also say that, blogs, typically a website's been maintaining a blog for a number of years now. It's important to go back into the history of the blog and see if there's content that maybe you should remove at this point, or blog content that you should
Mm,
update so that it's more relevant to today's world. It's not, we used to be in a heavy environment where it was like quantity of web pages. Now it's really coming down to a bit more of like a fine balance of quantity and quality, and finding that perfect balance, so you can communicate effectively and get, your content in front of end users. So yes, a blog is important, but also as your core content is too. But blogs, you'll typically see higher, high word counts on, some of the particular information, as well as a blog could be utilized to reference other websites. And it's also a source of information that the search engines are going to as well. So it's important to have tools like Google Search Console on your website, because then you could see what some of your anchor pages are, or what pages maybe should be blown out or have more content built into them.
dude, I love it. I mean, you're just like I'm like typing some of this stuff down so that we don't
Well,
we don't
you could
like
always ask
miss it
offline,
on
but definitely,
chopping up
yeah,
the
having a blog,
stuff.
it's a blog is important, because you could even do like last week we were talking a bit about, or it was last week or a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the White House's step up in
Yep.
social media content or content in general. So you could start to do a blog on that. You could look at the history and the evolution of like past presidencies, how digital has played into it. You could start with Obama and
Right.
then build up into, essentially Trump, and then, Biden, and then back to Trump, and how it's been utilized in all the administrations, tell a bit of a story there. And then when you're talking about social media or you're talking about search or the websites, you could backlink into that particular content to build in, if somebody's interested in that particular thing. But that would be like a usage of a blog is to, tell a story about a topic that you might find interesting, that might be timely, and also play into your business long term.
Yeah, I dig that. I dig that. So if you're already typing stuff out there, because there's a lot of really good copywriters. And I think that a blog would be a great way to redirect people to your stuff and, get people to click into your system. And you could even type the blog as a post on Facebook and have people click an action link in the comments or something. So I brought that up because there's just so many ways to use these platforms that fit your communication style. You just got to figure out what works for you.
For sure. For sure.
Rock and roll. What else we got?
Yeah, so to keep moving forward, the website design environment is still critical. Even, here in 2025, websites continue to be that main point of interest where you then drive traffic to the destinations that you want them to get to. So making sure the website is current with your brand communication, that's effective, that essentially you might have like pulled weeds of like information that you don't want, the audience necessarily focused on, as well like message efficiency, the brand reflection, as well as your credibility. I mean, the websites just they speak volumes of what a consumer might feel about a specific company or an organization. And if they have an effective website and they have a cohesive like messaging, it really can empower a brand and an organization to the next level. As well, it can also help close gaps in information wells that that might be there as well. So it's really important to have cohesive messaging when it comes to your website messaging, branding, and that it doesn't go astray.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. I think, and I like having you on here because I think people, especially from my background, they're like, if you just post on social media, you'll be successful. And it's like, no, you got to post. And then you actually have to like have conversations with people off the website. The whole point of being social with your media is to create social situations, conversations that you can get onto your phone off the website so that you guys can make a real bond in the real world. Don't get too caught up in the likes and the followers and the views and that kind of stuff. You want to be focused on what kind of people are showing up inside of your computer spreadsheet and your CRM and inside of your network and your client list, or your allies list. You can build an entire fortress of awesome people that will get your back on the internet, and they don't have to buy a thing from you. And those could be some of your most loyal people. So there's so much opportunity there.
Definitely.
What else we got?
Yeah, that covers, some of the different areas that I had, here for Marketing Monday. Essentially, the Savannah banana is definitely a phenom in today's environment, riding the catalyst of social media, as well as taking a traditional brand that's been around for over a century and, essentially lightening it up, remixing it, and having some fun with it. When you look at search and AI, definitely continue to hit the rungs that you were with search, but at the same time, do some cross research as to what the content and information is that AI is bringing up, and bridge those together. And then when it comes to website design, it's, more critical and important, I believe, in today's environment than ever before, because you do have, look at it at the highest level right now at the federal government. You have them basically shuffling through all the organizations to see what they want to keep, trim, or grow. And I believe if you're looking at the people making the decision, with particular Elon Musk and some of his related cronies, they're probably starting at the websites as well as the social media channels and working their way forward from there. I believe that tech information is definitely critical in making sure that stuff is up to date.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think that the more this administration continues to dig, the more we're going to see technology wise that we can activate within our systems, because there's so much stuff we don't have access to. And I think that this whole entire thing that they're doing with their whole administration is going to show us that there's a lot more than what we see. And so people can take it how they want to take it. We'll see what happens. But digitally, there's so much you can do. You can reach the entire world with a broadcast just like this. So, ladies and gentlemen, get your face on camera. I am Pat Hilton. This is Zach Hoffman. We appreciate you joining us. And we will see you next week on another Marketing Monday.
For sure.
And
Thanks,
we're going to
Pat.
have a hot new website here soon. Zach's going to be so proud of me. And the kids are going to love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe, add Zach, add myself as friends on Facebook. Follow us on all the major platforms. You can subscribe to Social Authority on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere shows are found. We'll see you on the next one.
Sounds great. Thank you, Pat.